Welcome back to DVC Weekly. This is episode 97. My name is Jason Erpelding. I'm the broker of Buy and Sell DVC. As always, I'm here with Scott Ferrioli.
I'm the owner of DVC-Rental.com and BuyandSellDVC.com.
Today is December 14th, 2022. So your 11-month window is going to be November 14th, 2023. And the 7th-month window is July 14th, 2023. As always, you can find us here on YouTube. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok.
Technically Pinterest.
Pinterest.
That hasn't been updated in years, but you can find us on Pinterest too if you want.
And the website for the rental is DVC-Rental.com. Remember the dash to save the cash. And for your resale needs, selling or buying, it's Buy and Sell DVC.com. And today we're going to start on the Buy and Sell DVC side of things. And this is a time of year when you have a lot of potential buyers that are really deciding the question of, do we rent points again in 2023, or do we go ahead and become DVC members? Because you do get a lot of people, that are renting from DVC-Rental, and, I know you have, you fall into the pattern of they just keep renting and renting and renting and renting. And then, you get into the minds of these people, after a few visits, 2 or 3, they start having a discussion in their family like, hey, we keep doing this, so we just go ahead and go into membership. And then, that's when, they're trying to make a decision. And of course, if they're looking into their vacations for 2023, they want to purchase something, get it closed, and so they can book the reservation. And really, like I have on here an example, like renting is $25 per point typically.
Currently, yep.
And so, if 5 of those vacations is going to be $125 a point, and, resale at Saratoga Springs is around $125 a point. Of course, you have your annual dues on there as well. But that is the reason why people do go they go from renting to deciding, okay, we want to continue to do this, and then they go into purchasing. Of course, you have the renter that says, well, I'm only going to come, once every 6 years. I don't want to go into ownership and rent out my points, whatever the case may be. But it's just one of those things where, I just want to mention that, yeah, if you're a renter and it's, and it's time to take the plunge to, to get your own ownership, now before your next vacation, may be the time to do it. That way you can use your own points and not rent again.
Stop stealing all of my renters.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, like renters, there's like the renter supply is never going to stop.
Yeah.
It's like the apartment complexes, they have a certain amount of people that decide, okay, I'm going to go into purchasing a home. Mm-hmm. And so those apartment complexes, they lose residents, but those apartment complexes,
they're not staying empty.
Right. They never go out of business. They just get more, people that move on out of their parents' home into an apartment, whatever the case may be.
It's like the typical cycle.
Yeah.
It's like, you do what you can afford and what's best for you. And then eventually, if you're able to move up into a house or move into DVC, you move up, and then the next family comes in who's, starting off type thing. So it's a continuous cycle. We're never going to run out of renters, and the apartments are never going to run out of people.
Exactly. And it really is. It's like, someone that comes to Disney, and let's just say they booked it through Disney, all of a sudden they're on a bus, and they talk to a family, and this family's like, oh, we just rented points from DVC-Rental. And they'll be like, rented points? How does that work? So basically, you're renting points, you have these benefits, you get free parking, and they just go like through like a mini spiel. Next thing you know, they're renting points. Then the next thing you know, they love it. They've done 2 or 3 vacations, and then they're like, oh, what about becoming owners? I mean, like you say, the whole cycle is just, it's nonstop. It's not, since 1992, it just continues to go. So hats off to the Disney marketing, to all the members out there talking to other members, to the people that are renting, explaining renting to other people. It all works.
I can't tell you how many times that I've heard from a renter of ours saying, and you got it, you nailed it right on the head. It's always on a bus. They always say, oh, just so you know, I was talking to a family on a bus about you guys and how we rented points. I mean, it's always on a bus. It's never anywhere else. It's always on a bus.
It is true. It's like
you got it perfect.
the bus. Like they never say I was on the monorail, or I was on the boat transportation. It was always on the bus.
Yeah. Whenever I was sitting at the park outside eating a churro, it's always on the bus, on that transportation only. Skyliner, nothing. It's always the bus telling people about us. So if you're on a bus with somebody, please feel free to tell everybody about renting points as well.
So that covers the buy and sell side of things today. So now we go on to the food review.
Come here, I'm gonna eat you! Get in my belly!
So for today's food review, I actually reached out in a couple of our Facebook groups because we were looking to do some of the Christmas decorations at Hollywood Studios, and the only place that was available was Mama Melrose. And over the years, I have read mixed reviews about Mama Melrose. You know, we've been going to Disney now for 20-something years, my wife and I together, and we've never gone to Mama Melrose. We've avoided it just because it's always been a mixed review. And I put out there that, you know, we're thinking of going. Does anybody have any recommendations on what you would get and what was your experiences at Mama Melrose? And we honestly got a couple hundred people who replied to these posts, and I would say 90% of them or more were positive. They would say how great Mama Melrose was. It was a hidden gem. You know, we had a couple people who didn't like it every now and then, but I mean, majority really enjoyed it. And by far the two most recommended items, besides the calamari, which was an appetizer, which was recommended a lot as well, the two most recommended entrees were the charred steak with macaroni and cheese and the chicken parm. So for this review, I'm going to be doing the steak because that's what I got. And I really love Facebook sometimes, and I love the community that we have because everybody said, get the steak, get the steak, get the steak. And then somebody on here said, I don't like the steak since they changed to a balsamic vinegar dressing. So instead of the butter on top, it comes with a balsamic dressing, which it does now. And I looked at the menu online. I'm like, it does say the balsamic dressing. And when I got there, I asked the waitress. I said, I kind of mentioned this and said, I had somebody complain about this, and she said, yeah, we used to have a different topping that used to use like the bone marrow, and it would take about 4 days to make this. Since COVID, she said, honestly, they switched a lot of recipes to get stuff that was easier to make because they just don't have the staff to make all this stuff now, which really kind of stinks. So they got rid of whatever sauce they used to put on top, which apparently everybody loved, and they gave this vinaigrette sauce. So she was really, really nice. Her name was Jen, and she brought over just a side of it, and I tasted it before I ordered, and I was like, I didn't want it all over the steak. And she's like, listen, we could still, the butter herb butter will still be on top of it. So, you know, just keep this on the side if you want that. I said, done.
Wait, the thing that takes 4 days, you would still get that or no?
Well, it's just the sauce that they don't make anymore. The sauce they put on top of it was a special bone marrow sauce that takes 4 days to prepare, and apparently it was fantastic, but they don't do it anymore. So I got the steak, but I had them keep the vinaigrette on the side. And periodically I would just dip it in there just for a little bit different taste. But steak was cooked really, really well. They used a wood oven, so it had a wood fire taste to it. Just herb butter on there, cooked perfectly. I gave it an 8.5. Very, very happy with the steak.
And what the bites that you dipped, what did you give those bites? The same 8.5 or like an 8.1?
That gets an 8.1. Okay. It wasn't as good, but the thing is, you know, a lot of times you just want to break up the taste a little bit. So every now and then I was like, I'll take a little balsamic taste.
So this is important for the folks to understand about this steak, that they don't want to get it.
Get the vinaigrette. Personally, I prefer to get try the vinaigrette first. Have them put it on the side for you, see if you like it, and decide that, because you don't want it to be all over your steak and then go, I dislike the steak. I kept it on the side, and I didn't mind dipping in it periodically, but I definitely, 5-10% of my steak went in the vinaigrette. The rest of it was in just the regular herb butter. Now, I will say, the star, though, was this macaroni and cheese.
Macaroni and cheese. Here we go.
It's not regular mac. It was a penne in like a cream sauce with pancetta on it. Absolutely outrageous. Fantastic. I give this by itself a 9.6. This is one of the best things I have eaten in months. And I'll also want to mention that Debbie Allen, who works with us, mentioned that she loves coming here as well. And in the past, she's been able to just say, hey, I just want a full-size serving of this macaroni and cheese for dinner, and they'll do it for you. So that's something I might have to look into next time. I would definitely get the steak again. However, I may look into find.
And how'd you get your steak?
What I told them was, I want it pink throughout. I said, medium to medium rare. I don't really like it red inside, but I definitely want it pink throughout. So I forget what the term that she actually used, but essentially like a medium to a medium rare. I like it pink throughout the whole thing. And it was cooked very, very well, and it was really soft, and I really did enjoy the steak, but this macaroni and cheese was, because it's not regular macaroni and cheese. It's a penne with a cream sauce and the pancetta. I was like, it was fantastic. So I would definitely, I'd get the steak again. I definitely would want to get the side of this macaroni and cheese again, because it was absolutely wonderful.
And now we're on to the DVC-rental side of things.
I don't even want to talk about DVC rental anymore. I want to talk about the food. It was really, really good. No, but Disney has just released their 2024 points, which we have updated on the buy and sell page and the DVC rental page. There's not a ton of changes from 2023, which is definitely very helpful. Sometimes they've moved stuff and they've created different seasons, but nothing has really changed, so nothing to really worry about. Now, the way it works is, for those who don't know, every resort has a certain amount of points. So just to make it super simple, say Saratoga Springs, all the points they sold come out to 1 million points. So if they want to increase studios by 1 point per night, they have to take the 1 point from somewhere else. They can't just add on, which is what you want, because you don't want Disney being able to just like change prices on people. So they can never really raise how much the rooms cost. If they add on to something, they've got to take it away from somewhere else. So if the studios go up by a point, the one bedrooms have to go down by a point. So there's a set locked in amount that Disney can't change. And the points are used to book rooms. So as an example, if you're in value season, a studio room could be 10 points per night, and a 3-bedroom grand villa could be 150 points. And I never want to confuse people too much with the points. The points are definitely needed on the resale side, because you're going to buy a contract that has a certain amount of points per year. You might get 200 points. And again, those points are just used to buy rooms. And you can use those points for studios, 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, grand villas. Super, super flexible system. On the rental side, knowing what the points are can be helpful. However, it's not necessary. I don't want you to confuse yourself with points, because all you have to do is go to our check availability tool, put in your dates, and our system will automatically calculate how much every single room costs, in cash. So you don't have to worry about the point system too much. But the points are on there for the people who are interested in points, or who know how points work, or again, are trying to figure out how many points they may want to use if they're going to buy, if they're going to buy resale down the line. They may want to know that, the room that they're staying in costs 150 points. So it can be helpful, but I just want to explain that the points are updated, the points charts are on there, everything is done. But again, check availability tool will calculate everything in money for you, so you don't have to worry about points at all if you don't want to. And that's basically what I had. The point system, how it works, the amazing food.
So let me ask you this. When you think of the point charts, and the point charts coming out and changing, in the history of DVC, what comes to mind as the biggest thing that they changed?
The biggest change that I can think of is when they took Saratoga Springs and they split it off and they made standard and preferred rooms. But previously they were all the same amount of points, and there were rooms that were in sections that were in more demand. I'm sure you know this. Were in more demand because they were closer walking distance to Disney Springs. So the biggest change I can think of is when they sat there and said, okay, we're going from just having a regular studio and kind of like you get what you get, to we're now going to have a standard view and we're now going to have a preferred view, and the points are going to be this much for each, and I'm trying to figure out which ones would work.
So I don't know the year, but the biggest change for me that comes to mind is it was almost like every single person was vacationing, checking in Sunday,
checking out Friday.
I
was going to say, is it the change of the Friday, Saturday points?
And the rentals were the same thing, and it was it was just dominating the discussion. Members, renters, everyone was doing that, and then so Disney said, okay, here you go. Here's a new point chart. It's more points to stay Sunday through Thursday, less points to stay Saturday, Sunday. They balanced it out, and so then that basically slowed that down. So now that really isn't a huge factor for a lot of people traveling.
And there were a lot of people who were upset about that because they would say, I always go Sunday to Friday. That way I avoid the Friday, Saturday heavy nights. And now I'm 8 points short. Or I'm whatever amount short, which is why we always recommend that if you're thinking of buying a resale contract, I'd say, we don't say add 10 or 20% more than what you think that you need, just as a little buffer in case Disney changes seasons or in case Disney does, you love the 1 bedrooms and they increase the 1 bedrooms by 1 point per night and the 2 bedrooms drop, whatever small changes Disney makes, you don't want to have a horrible effect on what you own, where you're going to be borrowing every year, or you're going to need to rent points every year. So I always say, allow yourself a little buffer. I mean, most people don't sit there and say, my gosh, I've got too many points. This is horrible. They're happy to have the extra points. Or worst case scenario, you rent them out and you make money every year on them. But always leave yourself a little buffer because Disney does make these small changes periodically to the point charts.
Well, do you know what the year was on that?
I have no idea.
Because it seems like it could be 15 years ago, it could be 10 years ago.
Closer to 10 than 15, I think.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure.
And I mean, that's really the only major change, I would say, in regards to the point charts.
Yeah, there hasn't been that much, because again, they can't move things around.
Right,
so
right. And I mean, really,
in.
it just has to do with supply and demand. Like, that was a change based on supply and demand. It's like if all of a sudden the school calendar for the United States changed and spring break was now, for some reason, in May instead of March, it's going to be more points to stay in May and less points to stay in March. So if some drastic change, drives it to that's what causes the point chart to have a so-called drastic change, is the way that, the members use the points.
Yeah, Disney's goal is to stay at 99% occupancy. So they always make sure that, again, Friday and Saturday nights the rooms are not getting filled, and they're completely packed during the week and not on weekends. They want to fix that. Or if one season, again, there's, it's a light season. This is what Disney does. There's a light season, a value season. So what do? They sit there and they drop the points to stay there. They drop the dollar amount that they charge because they want people to come in early September, because nobody's coming in early September. So they make it a lot cheaper to come here to entice you to come in. So Disney always does their best to stay as busy as possible. Nobody's ever thought otherwise. They stay busy.
Yes, indeed. Thanks for watching. We appreciate it, and please hit the like button and please hit the subscribe button, and come back and join us next week.
It's almost Christmas time. I'm getting excited. Thank you very much, guys. Have a great day.